Hi everyone, my name is Jackson Moore. I'm a senior sports communication major, and I'm one of the interns for the Department of Communication this summer. Today we have Malaysia Barr, and we are interviewing her about she's a Clemson student, so we're just gonna ask her a few questions. So Malaysia, do you want to introduce yourself? What's your year, where you're from, what's your major?
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Malaysia Barr. As Jackson just said, I am a senior communication major with a minor in English. I aspire to be a journalist. That's what I love to do. And I'm from a small town called Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina. So yeah, that's me.
Very cool. You kind of mentioned that you want to be a journalist when you're older. I was gonna ask why you picked this major.
Okay, that's a good question. I picked communication because, well, Clemson doesn't have like a journalism or mass communication program, but I picked communication because I'm a communicator at heart. I love communicating with people, and why I want to be a journalist is because, one, I love writing. That's my all-time favorite thing to do. But I love telling good stories and hearing other people's sides and getting people's voices out there, because I think it's so important to tell good news, in a world that seems to have so much bad.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're involved in on campus?
Yeah, so I am a Connections senior peer mentor. This upcoming school year, I was a peer mentor for the last couple of years, but this year I'll be a senior peer mentor. I am a part of the Clemson Gospel Choir as the chaplain this year. I am also a part of the REACH program. I'm just blanking. I'm so sorry. And I think that's all I have right now. But it's
that's a lot. That's awesome. Have you been involved in all of those all 4 years, or did you just start getting involved, or all four?
Yeah, I actually just started getting involved in all of those. Well, no, I'm lying. I was involved with all of these all 4 years. So Connections is a minority program designed for minority students at Clemson, because it's a small minority body at Clemson, and it's where you live in home. So I did that program my freshman year, fell in love with it, and I decided to stay with it. And so here we are. REACH, two of my classmates, class of 22, they actually started it like our freshman year, and it got up and running our sophomore year. So I've been part of that. And then the Clemson Gospel Choir, I just love singing as well. And so I'm also a Christian. So to put two of those things together is dynamite.
Yes, ma'am. That's awesome. Do you have any other fun hobbies outside of school?
Yeah, so as I said, I love writing. I write pretty much every day. I try to, and I love reading also. And as I said, I love to sing. So I listen to music all the time, but I also love Criminal Minds. That's my show right now. I'm trying to finish it. Season 14, going strong, but Criminal Minds is my binge show.
I love that show. I watched it over quarantine. I had to stop though. Some of the episodes are scary.
Exactly. So I have to take a break to kind of get myself together.
That's funny. What's your favorite music genre and genre of book to read?
Okay, that's a good question. I love R&B, 90s R&B more specifically, but I also love gospel, and I love jazz. And John Coltrane is my favorite jazz artist. As far as books, I love, so I'm not going to read any scary books because I can't do that. But I love, my favorite author is Alex Haley. He is the author of the Root series, which was very popular in the 70s and became a popular miniseries. And so I just love how he puts words together on the page because it's so wonderful. I love Sharon M. Draper. So I would say that I love contemporary Christian fiction, but also I love African-American authors because it represents a part of my heritage.
Yes, ma'am. That's very cool. So you were involved in the dive-in program with the Irwin Brand Center of Communications a few weeks ago. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, so the dive-in program, it was a week-long program from Sunday to Friday, and I absolutely loved it. I decided to work on, so in the program, we had to work on a brand like Kellogg cereal, Walmart, representing like a company. And so what I chose to do, I chose to represent my own brand, which is my podcast called The 20-something-year-old Christian in 2020. And because I had just dropped my podcast like the week before, I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I market it? How do I, sell it on social media? And that program completely changed how I view my marketing strategy, I say. And so it just really helped me to be able to pitch my podcast to people when I talk about it. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to get back to your podcast, but could you tell us a highlight of the week? And was this your first week with the Dive In? I know it was their third annual program, but okay.
Mm-hmm. It was my first time.
Could you tell us do you have like a highlight for the week?
So the highlight for me was the last day, which was Friday, and that kind of sounds bad at first, but I say that was my highlight because watching everyone present their project, it really showed me how everybody in the program put like a piece of themselves in it. Like Andrea, she's a Zeta, which is one of the Black sororities we have on campus, and she decides to market that. That's a part of her, and she allowed that to show in her project. And Liam, he did the National Theater Disability Group. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's something along those lines. And he has a disability, and so he represented that. So to see each person represent a piece of them and to make it personal was really significant. And if I was a consumer, I would be sold on everything.
That's awesome. Getting back to your podcast, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So as I said, my podcast is called The 20-Something-Year-Old Christian in 2020. And the name, I came up with the name because, 2020 was a terrible, terrible year. And with that being said, I feel like a lot of things have shifted, like the way we sanitize, the way, we go in stores and do things. But also for Christians, young Christians, I think that what shifted is the atmosphere of church, meaning that church, I feel like as a young Christian, there needs to be more conversations and more space for grace. And that's what the podcast is all about. We touch on real conversations and real experiences because life doesn't have limits, so nothing's off limits. And we just want to bring in experiences that I believe many young Christians like myself go through, and to have a space where they feel welcome and heard, and maybe it can inspire other people to say, hey, maybe this whole gospel thing isn't so bad, and hey, I'm going through this, so let me check this out. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love that so much. Where can we find your podcast? Is it on Spotify, Apple Music, that type of place?
Yes. So it's so if you go to anchor.fm/the20something, it'll show you all of the streaming platforms. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Cast, Spotify, Breaker, and all the major streaming podcast platforms out there. So yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Are you doing anything else fun this summer? Any internships, fun trips?
No. So my family and I, we are planning a trip in July to go somewhere. I don't know where we're going yet. I, as the oldest child, am in charge of figuring out where we want to go. So that's what I'm working on. But I'm also working on my newsreel, because to go into a news station, you have to have a newsreel. So I'm working on my newsreel. So I'm gonna capture some interesting stories that I found myself being around. But other than that, I'm just trying to stay cool and exercise and stay in the house.
Yes, right.
And work. Also, I'm working at a summer camp, so it's cool.
That's fun. And then my last question is, what advice would you give to an incoming freshman? That's kind of a loaded question. Just anything else?
That's a good question. So one thing that I would say to a freshman is to be your authentic self. College introduces a lot of pressures. One thing I've noticed, the pressure to drink, the pressure to, conform to this identity, do this, but just be yourself. And I think Clemson provides a space for all types of people, or at least that's what I've seen. So just be yourself, and what's meant for you will come to you because you are yourself. So don't, waver, don't stray, stay on your path, because it's only one you. And I want to see all freshmen, all people succeed.
Yes, ma'am. I was talking about this with somebody else the other day too. They were like, wanted to put something out to freshmen and be like, go with what you know, like be yourself, like don't try to, like, you can look for yourself, but go in the direction where you find yourself most comfortable, and you'll find like the people and who you're going to be. But I love that.
Yep.
Okay, well, that is all I have. Thank you so much for talking with me.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I hope you have a great rest of your summer, and I hope you find a good place to go for your trip.
Me too. Thank you so much, Jackson.
Of course. Bye.